How does someone go from writing mystery novels about gypsies and grannies to coaching hundreds of authors through the mystery of modern book marketing? If you're an author, have you ever poured your soul into a book only to hear crickets when it launches? Do you feel like you're shouting into the void while every other expert out there seems to magically grow their audience overnight? Today's guest is Juliet Clark, six-time author, speaker, podcaster, and publishing alchemist. She went from writing mystery novels like Dead by Dawn and Pitch Slapped. Is that the name of the book? Pitch Slapped? I love that. That's awesome. Pitch Slapped, to helping authors to build their platforms that actually sell books. She has founded Author Traffic School and Superbrand Publishing. And when she's not fixing your marketing, she's either hiking or golfing, or maybe she's kicking cliches in the face because you're also a black belt. Whoa, that's tough. Juliet Clark, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I love that introduction. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I loved writing that introduction. I'm like, this woman has got it all. And so there's a lot for us to talk about because you're an author turned professional, industry professional. And that tends to be a path too. So a lot of times I feel like it goes from avid reader, somebody who loves books, to then somebody who wants to write books. And then a lot of times people realize that the industry itself, especially if you're a professional, has benefits to be an entrepreneur. So you've covered all of that. Could we start with the beginning? I want to hear the story of your first book, if you would.
Well, actually, to go back a little further, I started out after college in publishing and then went to advertising and then came back around.
Okay, so full circle.
Had a little bit of experience. So my first book, like you said, I was an avid mystery reader, always wanted to write a book, went through a really ugly divorce, and all of a sudden had time on my hands and a really nasty ex-husband who I wanted to kill. So I killed him in the book.
That is like the perfect revenge. Does he know? Did he realize that?
He knows. We lived in a very smaller town in Los Angeles, and pretty much everybody knew. But the best part was when Pitch Slapped came out, and that is a book for authors to build platform. My daughter picked up the proof, and she was reading the introduction where I mentioned that, and she literally picked up the phone and she's like, "Oh, Dad, it's hysterical. She killed you in a book." Because my kids actually didn't know.
Oh, that's hilarious. And that's how they found out. Now you're laughing. So I'm assuming this was all taken in good humor by all.
We're one big happy family. My ex-husband is actually my golf partner. So it's a great 4 hours on the course, discuss what's going on with the kids. It's all very good now.
Oh, that's great that you still have that kind of relationship and you can have fun like that. Now, I got to ask you too, was there a certain amount of catharsis that happened with you as a human, as a writer when you were doing that? Was it a little bit of imagining and role playing? Obviously something you could never do, but how did it make you feel?
It was very cathartic. In fact, all of my mystery novels were, because Granny Heist is a semi-true story.
Okay.
And Gypsy actually sort of happened from something that happened to me in Newport Beach. And it was a very bizarre incident where my sister drugged me to a psychic down on Balboa Island. And she did this very weird thing. So I kind of looked her up, and there was this whole article in Newsweek about the two gypsy tribes who were warring in Orange County. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is gold. Gypsies never spill outside of their own clans. And so there was a lot of really fun research there. There was actually, in the book, it talks about a funeral with a white Bob and a black Bob. And they were actually real people that they showed up and had a brawl at the cemetery when someone died.
Oh, that's hilarious that you're pulling that in. Now, does it say something inspired by real events in the book so that the reader gets the added benefit of knowing that these are all, things that kind of happened?
It doesn't, but I will tell you, the gypsy con artist, I used her real name because she was a
Oh,
con artist. And what are you
oh,
going to do? Sue me?
right. It's in the record. It's in the public record, so it's all
Right.
good. Love that. Okay, so then you took we've got you at writing these mystery novels, and you've written several books. How did that then segue into you helping authors with their marketing?
So I published my first book. I thought that coming from the publishing industry after college, that self-publishing would be a good avenue for me.
Hmm.
So I hired a company, and I noticed right away that everything was company centric. It wasn't author centric. They didn't care about the readers. It was back 2008, 2010 era when the bigger companies were really um, they were kind of cutting down the self-published authors because they're not legitimate. They didn't go through us. And I really didn't like their business model because being in the publishing industry before, I knew that it was all about the readers, and I didn't see any evidence of that. So with my second book, I learned how to self-publish, got into the finer points that I knew from my previous career, and started creating author platform building because no one was helping these people understand that they had to build their own audience. And that's how this all progressed. As each book, I picked up more and more readers. I believe Granny Heist sold over 25,000 copies, which isn't bad for a relatively bad mystery. I don't write great books, I'll tell you that. But I just saw it progressed, and someone in our town had a book development course that he did, and those people started bringing their books to me after that happened, and I was like, well, I guess I'm a publisher now.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, and you took not only your writing experience, but you knew the marketing world as well. So you had this kind of perfect blend of knowledge and expertise to pull that off. That's amazing.
Well, I did, but when you're in the middle of it, when you're growing and life is going on, I was always kind of like, what am I doing? I went from this industry to this industry, but when I started this company, I really realized that everything I had done in the past, there was a greater plan there. I know, just nobody let me in on it.
Well, and sometimes it just seems to work out. In retrospect, it's like this was a path all along, but you don't see it until you can take a step back and realize, ooh, I needed that. That had to happen for this to happen. And it's wild the way that works out. So I'm really digging your journey. And I chose one of the many book covers. I just thought the bright colors of Author Alchemy were so inviting to do the little chalkboard drawing. I always encourage people to, Juliet, if people are listening, do check us out on YouTube. That way you can see the chalkboard walls behind me. And also take a hot second to subscribe and make some comments below. But with Author Alchemy, and the full title is A Journal to Embrace Your Inner Writer. Now, this is where you really are helping writers. Can you talk about Author Alchemy specifically for us just a little bit?
Yeah. So what I noticed as I was writing my own books is it's almost like God, universe, whoever you believe in, says, you've got this, you've got the talent, you can do it. But then as you progress, you see obstacles. Everybody sees obstacles in the way. And it's almost like the universe is saying, you can do this, but you got to stop and heal something. So that was really Author Alchemy. I had wanted to do for years. It's from an exercise that I used to do in real estate, where I don't think you can be creative if you're not grateful. Like it doesn't flow. So it starts out with an exercise every day that is, what are the 10 things you're grateful for? And for most people, that's going to be really hard at first, especially if you're not swimming in abundance. So it's just to get you on that path where every little thing that happens that you should be grateful for, that you're willing to say thank you. Thank you to whoever made that happen. And then the other part is, what are you manifesting? So what are your goals? You can say, I'm going to write a book, but if you don't sit down and do it. So am I going to manifest chapter 1 today? Am I going to manifest that I learn how to do a new task today? So that's really what it is. It's 90 days of hopefully growth for you as you're on your writer's journey, because all of these things come up.
Yeah. I know so many authors too, and I think you and I are in the same boat where they've been beaten down. In many cases, the reason that they're writing is they're writing through maybe some kind of a trauma. They're finally, doing their dream. They've worked so hard at a 9 to 5 job with the idea, one day I'm going to be an author. And sometimes they get into this world and it can be so overwhelming because suddenly they need to be an entrepreneur and they never knew that they needed to do that. So I love the idea of them deciding what they're grateful for and writing from that place of gratefulness because, I've always wondered or kind of thought about the fact that how cool is it that you're a writer? And this is to everybody out there at this moment in space and time with basically at your fingertips, you can do your research nowadays. You can have community with other authors. You can connect with people like you that can help an author on their journey. So I think there are a lot of positives that the environment and nowadays presents to authors. Let's talk a little bit about platform, because I know platform and building a platform is a big part of what you talk about, the author success handbook. I think that emphasizes platform. Why is that so important? Why should authors be thinking about that even long before they're published?
Well, I think there are a lot of people that are under the impression like Field of Dreams. I will build it and they will come. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, unless you're Kevin Costner, that's not going to happen. Yeah. You really have to build your own reality around it. So that's where that starts. And you're right. Most authors don't realize that they have to become entrepreneurs, because if you're going to do this for a living or even as an accessory to the living you already have, you have to go find those people who resonate with the story, resonate if you're a nonfiction author, resonate that how to do what you're doing. And that's where you really become that entrepreneur. Is you need that marketing platform. You have to have social media. You have to have that email list. You have to be out there and be seen. And I actually, for a while, had a theme of the invisible author. It's almost that like passive aggressive thing where I want to be famous, but I don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that in the writer world.
Oh, yeah. Well, they feel like I'm going to hire somebody to do my marketing and PR, and that means that they're going to do everything, and I'm just going to sit back and write. But to your point, whether it's social media, doing some interviews and podcasts, going to events, doing some book signings, even if it's an online thing, getting yourself out there is so important. I think too, and because you started your firm or started doing this in 2008, at that moment, that was right around the time where draft to digital was getting up and going, where people were able to publish themselves on Amazon, and it shifted. Being a self-published author, being with a vanity press was very much that. It was not only looked down upon, but an author would have to buy 1,000 books, store them in their garage. They didn't have print on demand. So many shifts happened that opened it up. But it also meant that authors who were getting ready to publish their book, it's like, I'm in this new world. What do I need to do now? Can you talk about some of the things that used to work that just don't work anymore, that people should maybe just forget about and maybe change their mindset, some of the new things that authors should be doing nowadays?
Yes. And I loved that time period because look what we got from it. We had a stodgy old traditional publishing map, and it was very exclusive, and it opened up to all these new genres, all these new categories, all these new things that interested people that they never would have seen with mass market produced books. So that was an amazing time period. Things that I see that don't really work that well anymore. I look at Facebook ads. They're supposed to be targeted. I don't think they are most of the time. And you're going to spend a great deal of money. The same with Google ads. Amazon has gotten so crowded. You can go over there and you're going to spend, like they say, $12 a day, but you're going to spend more than that if you really want that book out. And you're competing with every other book that's in the side panel and in all those places. So I feel like a lot of that old is shifting, and it's a good thing, because if you remember in the old days, and you and I have talked about the ads app, in the old days, it was your book was everywhere. And they didn't click, but they would see it on a billboard or see it on a bench or see it someplace. And it wasn't necessarily the genre you liked, but you stopped and said, that's interesting. Where do I get that? And I think we lost that with all of the targeting. And so that's one of the things that I think we're going to leave behind here, because I don't feel like it's necessarily working anymore.
Makes perfect sense. And yes, you and I have had sidebar conversation about your ads app. You brought it up. Can you share more about that with everybody?
Yeah, so the ads app, everybody's on their phone these days. And, everybody's in apps a lot of the time. And so the ads apps actually run your books through over 1,000 different apps that get 10 to 20,000 clicks a day. And it guarantees 500,000 impressions a month. So you're getting a lot of exposure. And it may not be that it's an app that is your genre, but as I discussed with you, I think I used the example last week that someone came and they said, what if my parenting book ends up in an archery app? Well, archery people are parents too. So, there are a lot of different genres that are universal that are now so targeted, and they're competing against all the other books in the target. So now we're putting it out to more of a mass audience that gives you more exposure than just, I'm looking for, a parenting book today. You may be out doing your archery and your 16-year-old is shooting things he's not supposed to. And you're like, I need this book now.
That's such a great point. And you're right. I mean, books in of themselves is a category, and everybody reads books, and even being exposed to something that might not necessarily fit your genre. That's one of the things that advertising does nowadays. You kind of mentioned retargeting a little bit, and everybody is now used to being followed around by whether it's the books or the pair of shoes or the jacket or the restaurant that sometimes it's even just mentioning it because our phones and devices are listening. So we're almost immune to the fact that something starts following you around like that. So I really like your model. It has a lot of benefits to authors to just get in on the new ground, because it's oversaturated on Amazon, and Meta is going through its own things right now. I'm curious too. So you also have Breakthrough Author Magazine. Is that right?
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
We started that in 2020, and it was just a test at that time. It was just promoting our authors' books. But then I started expanding it, I think in 2021. We have what we call power partners who commit to a year-long contract, and they come in, they have specialties. So it might be a speaking coach who comes in and talks about how can you get on stage and sell books. We have other people who are book developers, because book development's not one size fits all. You definitely have to work with who you resonate with. We have editors that come in and write, so you know more about what they're looking at and what you can avoid. We have podcasters, we have digital marketers, we have all sorts of people in there that can give you tips and tricks how to, do what you're doing a little bit better, because it's all overwhelming when you first start out. So any little bit that you can get of help is really welcome for most people. And we also have monthly trainings. We do first Friday of every month. We have a training on a particular topic with someone in the magazine who can kind of show you the ropes, and it's live. So you get to ask questions and maybe get some problems solved in real time.
Nice. Lots of great resources. Well, you are just a powerhouse, and it's a testament everything that you've done. And I think too about authors who they publish that one book, that first book, and they're like, this is it. I'm going to be a New York Times bestseller. Can we talk a little bit about the myth of overnight success?
Yeah, I think I mentioned up until my third book, I didn't sell a lot. My first book, I'm pretty sure when my grandmother passed away, I had to clean out her house. I'm pretty sure she bought all those copies. So it doesn't happen overnight. And you really have to get out there. You'll watch your platform building. Your first book probably won't do that well, but you're going to continue to platform build. And after you've done that second book, you'll see that you have more people that buy the second book. Then it goes into the third. And I actually found when I got to that third book, that's when people discovered me and started going back to the other books as well. And I know from my reader perspective, I do the same thing. If I find an author with a good book, now I'm looking to see what else has this person done. So you really have to be prolific out there, building not only your business around the books, but building your platform. It's a constant getting out there with your books. At one point, I was writing my third book, doing interviews about my second. My first one was old news. And, I was like on to the next one. And so you really have to get good at doing that and just build.
And wear a lot of hats too. I think sometimes writers kind of going back, I'm just going to write. That's all I have to do. What do you think are the primary hats that authors need to wear? And do you have any ideas about hats that maybe that's when it's time to consider outsourcing or hiring somebody to help?
Yeah. So writing, definitely writer. Platform builder. I think right away the platform building should start. And that is where you should start your outsourcing, because digital marketing is complicated. It's a learning curve. That was one of the things during COVID in March and April of that year. People would call me and they say, I have no digital presence and I need you to get me up by May so I can sell. And it's like, well, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
And I would say it takes a good 6 to 9, maybe 12 months to really learn all the ins and outs of that. And the reason I recommend that you do it with your first book is understanding messaging, get some help with that. If you're going to write more books, what's your brand? What does your digital footprint look like? Do I need a website? Do I need help learning how to do social media? You're going to need help with the tech. I think the tech is probably the hardest part of that. And then overcoming, there's another hat you may have to invite into your world. And that might be somebody who maybe deals with your, what do you call it? Imposter syndrome.
Oh.
Because I see probably a month before a book is released, I see perfectly competent people, strong, independent, I built this myself, people just melt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all that self-doubt. Will anybody like it? Will they critique it? I will tell you, I had on my third book a really poor editor and I didn't know it. And someone wrote, this is a great story. Did you hire a monkey to edit? Oh. And I was crushed. I was so crushed. But that editor was working on my next book and I fired her on the spot. So, there's always going to be ups and downs. So that might be another person that you have to hire is how do I get through this? Then you have, got to platform building, the publishing. You definitely have to wear a publishing hat if you're self-publishing, and you might need some help learning how to do that the first time. Because I worked with someone yesterday who is publishing her first book, and she was missing so many things. That was the difference between it looking professional and looking self-published. So, you have to be careful in that area. And then book marketer. You're going to be promoting that book for the rest of your life if this is going to become your career. So you have to wear that book marketing hat. In between there, you might have to hire a speaker coach and get yourself out there to sell in person. This business is all about relationships as far as I'm concerned. We do a lot of clicking, but in the end, it's about relationships. So how are you getting out there and building relationships? So there are a lot of different things you have to do, and it can be very overwhelming.
Yeah, again, and if somebody is maybe not as tech savvy, whoa, I've seen the same thing as you, Juliet, especially because it's kind of a thing people hear. Oh, so you can be a self-published author and you can do it yourself. Oh, you just have to take this one course. And the next thing you know, they're in there trying to do their own metadata and pick out their categories and keywords and BISAC and, even their ISBN numbers and all of that. If somebody doesn't have that expertise, even somebody that can walk you through it or guide you through it, still needs somebody that understands. Should your book just be categorized as fiction? Well, is it more than that? What else? Think about what the reader wants. So I think you're spot on when people kind of think that they can do it all, and chances are they're going to need some help because, like you said, nobody's really an overnight success. And author funnels or books funnels, sales funnels, that's another thing that I think can be a little bit daunting. Thoughts on those, please?
That I consider part of the author platform, and it is very daunting. That's where I said you're going to spend three months to a year just figuring that out, because it's not only okay, I see this as my funnel. Now you have to go set it up. And we actually have been talking to authors lately about go high level, because one of the things that they come back to me and say is, well, this is $20 and that's $40 and that's $100. And, all of a sudden you're doing your digital marketing and you've got this huge monthly bill and you're not selling enough books to cover the bill. So, having an all-in-one system where you can perfect it all in the same place can be really helpful as well, especially when you're trying to build the funnel and maybe one piece is over there and one piece is over there, and you're trying to integrate it all together. So it is, for me, it took a while to get the funnels. I mean, I probably clicked in about month 5, and I had a coach. It probably took me that long to really figure out what I was doing and what the path was that was not serving me, but the readers. Because I think a lot of times we get into this funnel building, we think about, well, what would I want? Well, that's the time you go out and do surveys. Ask your readers what they want. They're going to tell you. And then you're building it exactly for those people instead of just, I think I'll do this to sell books.
Great advice. I could not agree more. And all right, I have kind of a fun question for you, Juliet, because I'm fascinated by the fact that, did I get this right? You have Taekwondo is what you're skilled in, or is it karate?
It's Taekwondo.
It's Taekwondo. Okay. And you're a black belt, and you got your black belt at age 46. So you got it in the future.
I'm 64. I'm inverted now. I'm 64.
Oh my goodness. Never would have guessed that, but okay. And so getting your black belt, I mean, you seem like you're one tough cookie then, huh?
Yes, I got roped into that. My kids were in Taekwondo, and my ex-husband kept saying, like, he kept pushing them, and they'd be like, Dad, it's hard. So I took one class. It was hard. And I kept going up until I got my black belt. So I sort of am. I got beat up a lot by teenage boys. And the great part was at 46, I would walk into the studio the next day, stiff as a board, like, oh my God, everything hurts. And the teenage boys would be like, hey, Mrs. Clark, let's do it again. And I'd be like, oh, let me take a bottle of aspirin first. Ibuprofen. But it was a lot of fun. I used to teach green belt as well. So it was nice to see kids get discipline and develop. I think that was the funnest part of it, because there's so much discipline involved with martial arts.
Oh, yeah. And being able to see you do it, and do it at maybe an older age than them, and somebody doing something that you might not necessarily think of, because then that shows young people, hey, don't let something stop you. Don't let the world say you can't do this because you're this, that, or the other. It's, if you want to do it, go for it. What an inspiration you were to those boys. That's incredible.
It was a lot of fun. Now, we did get my ex-husband in, and he did one course. He couldn't get out of bed the next day. So that was the last we heard of pushing us all to be better.
Oh, funny. Oh, that's hilarious. I love this little relationship kind of you have with your ex-husband. It sounds like you guys have a lot of fun together even still. Okay, we have just a little bit of time yet. Okay, I want to ask you really quick, what's up next? What should people be looking forward to from Juliet?
So we are working in the AI space to do more book marketing in a different way. I really feel like the old paradigm has gotten stale, just like traditional publishing did it at one time. And so we are really trying to get people out there with new tools that create content for them and do different things to streamline the process, because this is probably the one part that people hate the most.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. You're right there on that cutting edge of technology. And I feel storytelling and authentic storytelling too is something that is needed in the zeitgeist of our society. That's never going to go away. We're storytellers at heart. So it's just a matter of adapting to the times. And you, Juliet, are doing that beautifully. Can you let folks know where they can go to find out more about you, your companies, your services, and of course, your books?
Yeah. So if you wanted to spend time with me, you can go to chatwithjuliet.com. We do have a website, Superbrand Publishing. You can get our podcasts over there. The magazine is over there. If you want to go directly to the magazine, it's breakthroughauthormagazine.com. And you'll find our free trainings in there too. If you want to show up, everyone's welcome. You don't have to be a client of ours. We want everybody to benefit and be better at all of this.
That is so wonderful. Thank you, Juliet, for spending time with us today and for all that you do for authors out there in the writing community. Very much appreciate it. And thank you as well, everybody, for joining us today on the Books That Make You show. You can find out more about us on our website. It is booksthatmakeyou.com. You can sign up for our Webby Award-winning newsletter. Make sure you're following us on Facebook, Instagram, and please take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel the next time you're on YouTube. Until next time, all of my bookish buddies, please enjoy all of the books that make you who you are.
Books make you hope. Books make you dream. Books make you laugh. Books make you scream. This is the Books That Make You show, discussing books with authors and experts, unraveling the inner pages of all the books that help make us who we are.